Good to have you join us on TMI and our first conversation on today. We will be looking at the life and times of former President Muhammadu Buhari, and of course also delve deep into politics and cultism. Is there a dichotomy? And we look at some who say that there's a relationship between politics and cultism. Well, we're going to be having a fetch of this because all that transpired, in the course of the Edo history as regards, cultism crisis, court clashes, we've been having, and of course from ab initio, we look at the need for us to find a lasting solution to tackle this. But at the advent of the Senator Mondo Pueblo's administration, there was hope, that this issue will be laid to rest. And we had at the first experience where the president brought it to his bearers. But again, we are having a resurgence of it in Benin, and death toll rising every day. Well, discussing this with me in the studio at my extreme left, I have the former SSA to the governor of Edo State on Youth Affairs, a political analyst, Shedrack Udubai.
Thank you very much. A pleasure being here.
I also have with me a lecturer at the University of Benin and a lecturer in the Department of Philosophy.
Good morning, Edo
He
State.
is Abdullahi Ibrahim. Good morning.
Good morning, Edo State. Good morning to the whole world.
And joining me via Zoom from the United States, Texas, Houston, is Ahmed Mamadou. Good morning, Ahmed.
Philip, it's a pleasure to be on the show again. Thank you for inviting me.
All right, let's start with you, Ibrahim. We've been having this whole court clashes, and again, we are having a resurgence. I don't know what your thoughts are like. Is there a link between politics and cultism?
Well, yes. For us to start discussing this issue on the nexus between politics and cultism, it will be very proper for us to take a holistic look at the very background issues and origin of the various cults in Nigeria. Then before we can now probably relate it, bring it down to our own very local community, which is Edo State. For a start, when you look at cultism in Nigeria, it didn't actually come in the first instance, but it started right from the pre-colonial era. In 1952, Wole Soyinka, the very noble laureate, well respected, conglomerated with 6 of his other friends, and they formed the Pirate Confraternity. This Pirate Confraternity, as at that time, came up with an objective aim with which to do what? To see that they can, suppress some form of oppression against students as at then. They came up with lofty ideals, which were very beautiful. I mean, they came up with Pan-Africanism. They were trying to promote some sense of what we call fight against neo-colonialism, because as at then, in the 50s, Nigeria was already drifting towards self-independence. So you can see that the ideals upon which some of these cult groups were actually formed were noble, as it were. But unfortunately, as it is today, the same cannot be said of these cult groups. Many of them, as presently constituted, are now constituting nuisance in the society. They have now been used as elements and instruments for kidnapping, for maiming people, for terrorizing people, for torturing people. And then they have now succeeded in even creating a kind of systematic, platform of unleashing fear on the people of the state. So then if we come back to the our own very immediate microenvironment, which is Edo State, cultism has been a problem over time. I took time out to carry out some little research on the problem of cultism in Edo State, and I found out that in the last 10 years, close to 1,000 young people, or men and women, have been killed as a result of cult-related activities. And if that being the case, means that this issue has become a pandemic, and it is something that requires very, very stringent actions on the part of government. But however, be as it may, this problem is not only going to be solved by government alone, because it is a societal problem that requires, the synergy between both the people in power and those masses on the streets. Now, you and I ought to become very active participants by ensuring that when we see people say something, when we see something, we say something. Now, a lot of these cultists do not live in spiritual abodes. They are human beings like me and you. They walk on the streets. They feed in restaurants. They go to shopping malls. They even go to clubhouses and all of that, where they synergize and conglomerate with people. What that simply means is that even by their body languages and the kind of things they do within the society, is a clear testimony to the fact that they have some suspicious character in them. So if me and you decide to contribute our quota, we can actually be able to support government in fighting this menace.
Well, thank you very much. I must say that we must also look at the life and times of the former president, Muhammadu Buhari. And I asked you that question concerning politics and cultism, but I'm afraid I want your comment on the passing of the former president.
Well, let me start by saying that, you know, Muhammadu Buhari, a very great statesman, a military retired general, a politician. He came into politics with a lot of, you know, credibility and integrity. And he rose on the mantra of the change agenda, which eventually brought him to power, being the first president to be able to, actualize victory over a sitting president, then President Goodluck Jonathan. And, somewhere along the line, the government, to be fair to him, did not seem to participate, or they did not seem to actually be able to, yield the dividends of democracy to Nigerians. But to be fair to Buhari, one man alone can just possibly not transform the system, no matter the political will. So, Nigeria, as it were, under Buhari, faced a whole lot of challenges. But, when we want to juxtapose it against the, performance of his government, we will say that probably he did his best, okay, but his best may not probably have been good enough. But, may his soul rest in a perfect peace.
Okay, Shedrack, I would like you to, in a short while, comment on how you feel about the passing of the former president, and then take a swipe on the topic for the day, politics and cultism.
President Muhammadu Buhari, to a very large extent, was a man who appeared to be very ambitious over the years. He expressed strong desire to rule the country even after he had ruled as a military dictator. And so you see those prolonged energy he expended in trying to become president, at first somehow scarred him, so he became more like an ethnic chauvinist, because he saw the northern oligarchs and the leaders, the people were not consistently supporting him. So when he eventually became a president, he had that ethnic strike. So that was why we saw him always wanting to make provisions for the north, wanting to give in to cowtocracy, wanting to make provisions for cow rearing, cow road, cow grazing. That was one thing that really marked his administration. When you go beyond that, you saw him making ethnic policies. But you see, apart from that aspect of him, he tried when it comes to the strengthening of the institutions, independence of INEC and the judiciary. That one will give it to him and fail. Because we see someone today that has no regards for all of those. So when you marry a wife who was very patient, and you marry another one that's not patient, you appreciate the patience in the former one, despite the other things. So not just, apart from that ethnic chauvinism, the outrageous love for ethnicism and Islamic rights, but the man did well in other aspects. And we also at least appreciate him for the things he did. No man is perfect. Then speaking on the issue of cultism, cultism to a very large extent has been in the fabric of Edo State. I, for one, I'm a citizen of this. I was born and brought in the state of Benin. I was first asked to join a cult when I was in SS1. And it wasn't a fellow classmate that asked me, it was a class lecture teacher, my teacher in school, my geography teacher, that asked me to come and be a member, because then it was one mentor in the whole cult. That's to tell you how deep it is and how I followed this thing closely over the years. You see, when we talk about cultism, most people speak of it as though it's something that is alien, something that is unknown. But the thing works and lives with the fabrics of the Edo State. It's within the system. There's no, when people make up some business, like you say, want to fight cultism, I ask them, are you sure you don't know anybody that's a cultist? Have you started from there? That's the challenge. Because with the issue is there's nobody that, even as of today, you can't arrest somebody for cultism and the guy practically goes into jail. I'm not seeing so many. They're extremely very few. There must be other related crime he kills. Say the person just got that he was once a member or is a member, he's not just locked into the cell and abandoned there. You have to prove that the man committed a crime as a cultist. You get the idea. And the issue of cultism, people say, if you tell somebody there's a cultist, if you bear witness for somebody there's a cultist, and the person now goes to jail, even inside jail, you will send other people to come and deal around you. So the idea of saying, bring our information to help us, because I've worked with the commissioner. The last time when I was in government, as special advisor to the government, I worked closely with the commissioner of police. We knew the problem we had when we had issues of court-related fights. But let me tell you what happened. You see, because the government is a very powerful entity. when Adasale Oshomole was in power. Adasale Oshomole, I didn't work with government, but when he Philas High Court, was that the man was very strategic. He worked with the stakeholders, leaders and masters, the capons and the dons within the courts in Edo State. So there was an issue of fight. He calls them and gives them clear instruction. If there's settlement, he makes settlement. There's need for people to agree. He did all of that. That's the Philas High Court. There's no proof to that. It was as alleged. So when there's issue of fights, court clashes and killings, the man was fast to move. And he was able to at least, to just manage the situations. When Gordon Obaski came on board, Gordon Obaski gave no face to all of those things. But Obaski was, we hit the hammer, damage the nail. So we knew how many Agberos that were sent to prison. We knew how many Agberos that were not in power. Once those things thrive on political Agberoism. Those things, there are areas, Curtis, many of them don't just thrive on just stealing and looting and raping. They also have the way government patronize them. And I want to say, I've also been in politics. Even if you gather witches, and the witches have PVC. Government, anybody that wants to run for office, go and meet the witches, say, please come and vote for us. Even if they know that these ones are witches, they fly in the night, they kill children, they suck blood. As long as they are gathered, there's an organization that have an interest. Anywhere people are gathered, politicians go there. As long as they can tell you, we'll vote for you. That. And because of the way and manner our political system is being run, persons, they need power, they need muscle to run the election because they know that Nigeria is under-policed. So they know that they need to put muscle somewhere. So that's why it becomes imperative for them to now want to say, okay, since police will be everywhere, let us now mobilize these boys to help us. That notwithstanding, when Gordon Obasi came into power, he moved strongly against them. Whether you like it or not, many of them went to same. And the mass body language was clear. You could not, even as a special advisor, as a commissioner, tell the governor, Your Excellency, please help me remove one of my cousins that is in police station for correlated issue. Once he comes, he will tell the builder, make sure you deal with him mercilessly. Okay. But what we saw when Gordon Okpebolo came on board, he also showed the body language. First of all, his administration came that was enthroned by a mass majority of persons who were known to be maybe Agbero, who were those types. Because that's where it thrives. That's where it thrives in those rough areas. Because you can't say you are looking for Curtis now. You go to an organization like let's say the doctors in Nigeria. They may there, but not. You get the idea? It's not as pronounced as those ratags and patas, the pedestrians, the talakawas. The man came through all of those. Political class and political thuggery and all of that. And read this election. So when people now knew that the governor is disposed to empowering thugs and agberos, their morale rose to the peak. Bona Burimana went to pick the CULTISM Act, repositioned it, increased the punishment. They'll say, where was 5 years, give it 10 years. Anywhere we find the house doing where they do CULTISM, it was a fine law. It was a fair attempt to strengthen the back and bite of anything related to court crime. But what we now saw is that he just derailed all of a sudden and started marking the houses of PDP members. Say, Obolo does not have a police station in government house. It does not have an investigation unit. It does not have a trial system. But we'll just tell you that we heard that you are holding court meeting in your hotel. They will mark the hotel for destruction. So people now began to say, oh, even this thing is just for political battle, for witch hunting and for position. So the thing just derailed. So the courts became more pronounced that this man never want to fight us, so now PDP people want to fight. And the team began to nosedive. So when he now came back now and said, see, if you want to really solve the issue as a government, you start from people closest to you. You make it strong and make it stand. What Mondo Pueblo is doing right now is not fighting courtesy. It's just a cosmetic attempt to see if he can gain some momentum for his party and to reduce the position. So that's why the thing has degenerated to this level where there's killing every day. It's a sad menace, but it's very disturbing that this government is not doing what it needs to do in the issue of courtesy.
Let's get to you, Ahmed. Let's get to you, Ahmed. And you heard what Shedra Udugbai said. But first, let's get your comments on the passing of the former president while you tackle the issues of politics and cultism.
Again, Philip, let me thank you for inviting me to join this discussion and share my views. I was very sad when I heard about the passing of former President Muhammadu Buhari. In my opinion, he will be remembered very kindly by history as the father of the current resurgence that Nigeria is experiencing in every regard. Let us cast our minds back to when he initially came to government in, I think it was 2016. And on the eve of his assuming power, after Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala had told us that the federal government was borrowing money to pay salaries, we now had an unprecedented worldwide pandemic, which he saw us through. And then on the other side of that pandemic, the resurgence of Nigeria was even unbelievable compared to our neighboring countries. You can see how a lot of them are struggling. All of the neighboring countries, Ghana, Benin, all the rest of them, they all struggled through that pandemic. But because of his prudence, his management of the resources through the Treasury single account, we were able to come out on the other side. Let's not even go into the giant strides he made in food security. Now, let us not mix up or being unable to feed with food security. They are two different things. He has increased food security in Nigeria. There are a lot of farmers who will attest to this fact. You can go out, if you have the money, you can buy food. It's not to say that there is no poverty, it's to say that the food security has improved. Talk about infrastructural development. Most of the current airports that we're looking at, that we're using, they were built in his time. Look at the railroads. Look at even the resurgence in the oil. There was a lot of bad. My main problem with him towards the end was when they had the issues with the currency and how he allowed the central bank governor to make a mess of the whole thing. That was one of the lowest points of that administration. I'll be the first to tell you. But by and large, I think Muhammadu Buhari was a patriot, and people have that misconception about his ethnicism. It's complete nonsense. For 4 years, Buhari had Dasuki, a scion of the Fulani Empire, whose father was the former sultan. He held him in prison. How does he love cattle rearers and he doesn't like Sambo Dasuki, who he kept in prison? So some of these things are nonsensical. Buhari was a patriot. He will be remembered as a patriot. He was detribalized. And why would I say so? He ran for president 3 times. Out of those 3 times, the first time he used if memory serves properly, Umeze Oke, who was a Second Republic Speaker of the House of Assembly. After that, he went for Chuba Okadibo, and then he finally settled with the immediate past vice president, who is a pastor. So some of these things are nonsensical. Why would he want to impose Islam on the whole of the country? That doesn't make any sense. How would he do it? The independence of the judiciary was paramount to him. We can see that the independence of the judiciary, not only that, the giant strides that were made in electoral progress were made in his administration. So let us give honor to who it is due, and if we don't, history will do it.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think we will be getting the comments of St. Moses Iromasele. Good morning, St. Moses.
Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly. Let's take your bite on the mood of the country, on the passing of the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, and of course your comment on politics and courtism, how to draw a dichotomy, and of course how to tackle the court clashes we're having in Edo State.
Yeah, let me start by saying that the soul of our departed past president rests in perfect peace. I tend to align with the last speaker. He spoke very objectively about Buhari. Buhari was an upright man, was a man of integrity. I know under him the economy nosedived, but a lot of structures were built in his time, and those structures are what Tinubu will inherit, like the refinery, like the railways, like a number of things. And I think we need to be very objective when we are criticizing people. Yes, there was a lot of hardship. Yes, he got some things wrong. Everyone gets some things wrong. But on the whole, he was a man of integrity. He was not corrupt, overtly corrupt, although there were a lot of corrupt people around him. But he did his best within the limits of his capacity. And he has died, and may so rest in peace. About the state, the security situation, particularly cultism. Yes, my friend Shadrach was trying to analyze the origin of the problem. I tend to also agree with him. This cultism problem is weaponized sometimes by politicians. You know, when we allow people, non-cultists, to get nominated into offices or to remain in office when they are discovered to be cultist, it's something that should worry every one of us. Yes, because for me, generally, cultism, like he said, it's not the problem. It's not the problem. It's the violence that they commit. It's the crime that they commit. And our government must focus on attacking the crime, not membership, because membership of anything is constitutionally provided in our constitution. But when you begin to commit violence, you commit a crime, punish the crime, and then you see that cultism will phase out. Because when they see that you arrest them, you are arresting them for cultism, and they come out, most of them, 90% or more than 90%, they come out because you cannot really prove anything. But if he commits a crime, you held him for the crime, for murder, for rape, for arson. He's being jail for that, no settlement, then with time that will be reduced. I also think that our youth should be properly orientated. There's really no positive future for cultism. There's no positive future. It was a mistake. It was something that came out of struggle over time, but that struggle has long passed. We need to look at building our youth to be scientists, to be creative minded, to contribute to the economy, not to destroy it. That has to be the new orientation, that you must build your nation, not to build walls or build friction among young people, because the rate of killing is abysmal. It's something that we should not even think about. If youth must gather together, they should gather together to celebrate their lives, celebrate their future and plan, not to fight or to kill. Because if you kill, you are counting scores. You're actually counting your folly, because you're a foolish person to be counting scores when you are bringing somebody down. And any idiot can actually kill somebody. That's truth. But it takes wisdom. It takes capacity. It takes knowledge. It takes intelligence to be able to build somebody. So it's how many people you have built they should be counting, not how many people you have brought it down. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we will be extending the frontiers of this discussion after this short break. Do stay. Thank you once again for being there. It's This Minute TV, and I am Philip Omo-Gyukpo. We're all about politics and cultism, how to draw a dichotomy, and of course, how to tackle the resurgence of court clashes in Edo State. And I've been speaking with distinguished analysts on this. But let's get to you, Ibrahim. You are a lecturer in the University of Benin, and we see all of this happening. And at the heat of the Edo 2024 gubernatorial race, where there was, during the campaign, one of the candidates, came to the school, to seek for votes. And what transpired, led to the attack of one of your lecturers. I can't remember the name vividly, but can you tell us exactly a recount of that story?
Well, very unfortunately, a governorship candidate was supposed to come and address very eminent and respected members of the university community, especially lecturers. And then, unfortunately, the place was, attacked by a group of people, quote and unquote, whether they are cultists or not. We've not.
Okay, you can draw a nexus on that.
We've not been able to profile them as such.
Okay.
And then, in the course of doing that, one of our lecturers, I think Dr. Presley, so to say, was severely injured. And in fact, I want to say that it took the grace of God for him to be revived. And in the course of that, you find out that certain efforts were made, by his twin brother.
Okay, I understand he has a twin.
Yes, to try, because they are twins, yes.
Okay.
So the twin brother, Dr. Wesley, made certain efforts to try to see how, the issue could be addressed. The university community actually made frantic efforts to ensure that those people were punished. Some of them were profiled, and then after profiling them, some of them were sanctioned appropriately. But the only area that, some of us are very concerned about is that, his twin brother, Dr. Wesley, had to undergo a whole lot of psychological torture. And the kind of system we operate. We are living in a very localized system within the micro system of how we operate in this country. You find out that certain forces have a way of threatening people, have a way of intimidating people, coercing people, and all of that. But to be fair to the university community and the management of the university, they've done their best to ensure that such.
Are you saying the life of the twin brother is under threat?
Yes, the life of his twin.
But yet you say it may not be unconnected or connected to.
No. The life of the twin brother was under threat at a point in time. But I think that presently is becoming to overcome it. But then he went through a whole lot of torture, because we are in the same department as we speak. So we saw what he went through. It was tough. It was very, very tough on him.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim Abdullahi. Well, let's get your thoughts. How do we tackle the issue of cultism? Because the Edo State governor has been on it, and you even made a mention of it, how you brought about, some laws, tightening some laws to make sure that he's able to tackle this. But do you see a grip strong enough by the government under, the administration of Senator Mondo Pueblo? And if you think otherwise, what do you see as the way out of this problem that we've been faced with?
The way out could border around political will, but this government does not have the political will. Sorry to say, before Mondo Pueblo went into government, I had thought from my own evaluation, his competence, his character, his background, and the structure and organization of the APC, I had thought that they will not be able to perform. But now, having seen them for 6 months, I know they will not be able to perform. A president, a governor that is looking for 2.5 million imaginary votes for Tinubu, is he the one that wants to go and fight cultism?
But don't forget, he brought it to the barest. He brought it to the barest at his first few months in office.
He brought the issue of 2 months. You come into government 2 months.
I don't know if you were in that 2 months.
That was the relative calm that existed before Obaseki left office. And when Obaseki left, everybody had to calm down to see what they could get for themselves. And when you finish sharing, people will become disenfranchised. Some people will feel aggrieved. The truth is this: when all these calculations we keep making, how does a man fight? How many persons in the APC, how many persons in this government that Mondo Pueblo has held ransom, has punished for cultism or cult-related affairs? As long as you're not able to deal with it within, there's no dealing with it externally. Gordon Obaseki dealt with cultism from within. I said if he hears that there's any issue, he moves against it strongly in totality. The man doesn't care whether he wins or lose election.
Okay, if he
so on the basis of that political isolation,
if the former governor dealt with it from within, how come it resurfaced?
No, when he said when the man leaves, what will happen? It was not exterminated. It was all strategically managed by iron and sticks. But this government currently, I strongly do not. I don't know how to say it, because when you come into government and you have to govern, but yet you now forget governance and continue to play politics, it becomes very irritating. Even in mind, I would have offered the issue of solutions to cultism is a deep solution that we will sit down to cross-evaluate. What will work, well, not what will work in Benin, will work in the rural areas. Tackling cultism in institutions, even tackling cultism in the areas. And in different areas, like in the GRO, is different from in the markets. There are market unions which thrive on all of those things. There are agberos, there are bus drivers, there are conductors. There are different attempts, there are different measures that will be taken in different organizations to curb cultism in that organization, to ensure that people do not use cultism as a tool for mobilization into power. That's what they use it for. Even politicians use it as a tool to mobilize support, to mobilize resources, to gain power. So that is what you will tackle at the board. They will not fight the crime, because even if I'm not a cultist and I go and kill somebody, you arrest me. What makes it difficult that if I'm a cultist and I kill somebody, if you arrest me, nobody will come and say, I saw when Shada was killing him, because they know I have men who will revenge on me. And when they arrest me, Shada could be a cultist and put me inside the cell, it's one phone call. We call our senior man somewhere, who is in the police or is in the army or is in government. They will come and bail me out. So you should know the leverage they have as cultists. They should understand the situation clearly. All this hoodwinking, recklessly, their approach is dangerously poor.
Okay, but do you see the 2027 election as a tool that may not be able to strengthen the fight against
because
cultism?
Now we ought to be doing governance when it's about 3 years to election. Mondo Pueblo and the score are all taking a Tinubu 2.5 million votes, 2.5 million votes, as if that's the only thing he needs to do to ensure that people will prosper. Because politics starts without giving, they don't have the ample opportunity to not tackle, because for them, when you tackle, you have to focus on governance and leave politics and forget whether it will lead to an advantage or not, and deal with it decisively to ensure that you safeguard the lesser parts of government. If the people are not safe amongst themselves, if we're having serious, many people run away from Benin because of cultism, and they run away to abroad, we lost ground. How many of them die? How many mothers have been rendered? How many wives rendered widows? How many mothers rendered childless? In the case that happened in one of those communities, a woman lost 2 of his only sons. One belonged to one court, another belonged to one court. The court boys came, they shot one dead. The friends retaliated and killed a brother. Say because he has killed their member. 2 of them, you see the callousness and the recklessness. For them, it is not, but they didn't even think to say, this boy and this boy, they are both of the same parents. A boy kills his elder brother. The court boys went to revenge by killing the other brother. So that is how bad it is. So if the government must be serious. The government must be decisive. It's not this lip and cosmetic pen this one has for destruction. But no proof, no anything. See, if the problem wants to work, we will know. A government that will work, you will know. A government that will not work, you will also know.
Let's get your thoughts, Ahmed Momodu, because I asked you this question earlier, but I think you missed it. But an opportunity for you to take a bite on the efforts of the governor of Edo State in tackling court clashes.
So let me quickly point out that I like the angle that Shedrack took and some of the insights that he has provided. It was very illuminating. But the point of our disagreement is very simply this. If we are talking about Agberoism, and we do not mention Godwin Obaseki, then we have not even started that conversation. That is an aside. I will come back to it. To address the issues of cultism, I think Governor Pebolo has done what is commendable, because there has to be a zero-sum approach to allowing cultists free hand to operate in Edo State. And what he has done is to not only dismantle their meeting points, he has also told you that he's ready to tackle it, not anti-judicially. He wants the courts to take care of the process. If you are found guilty of cult activities, you will be charged to court and sentenced accordingly. This is how a government that is interested in progress and the entrenchment of the rule of law will perform. Let us go back to what I left before. I'm very happy that Shedrack has found the interest to talk about Agberoism. Let us talk about Agberoism a little bit and see if Godwin Obaseki is not the first Agbero that Edo State produced in Government House. Why do I say this? It's very simple. When he took over government in 2016, Edo State debt was 84 billion. By the time he left, it was 680 something billion, an increase of almost 900 billion on top of what he met. Is that not Agberoism? You want to talk about what the palace said to him, and at the time, Philip Shaibu, about their boys and the damages they were causing. They were shooting even in the palace. You are talking about Agberoism. You had 4 years, you did not swear in members that were elected, 14 members of the House of Assembly that were elected. You did not swear them in. Instead, you went and you were chasing them all over the place, bombing the whole of Benin. And you are talking about Agberoism. Let us talk more about Agberoism. There were several fires that burnt all the markets, pretty much all the main markets in Benin. How many did Godwin Obaseki repair? Do you want me to name them one by one? Ekiota Market, Oba Market, Oliha Market. All of these markets were burned. What was the response he did? He brought ShopRite, an elitist approach to a very problematic system. The people were asking you, how do we go to ShopRite and who owns the ShopRite? We are talking about the ownership structure of several of the things that you claim that Godwin Obaseki did. There is nobody knows who owns Radisson Hotel as we're talking. The other day you had on your program, Philip, the SA Energy for the current governor, and he told you that the power plants that came, they were giving special concessions. The Edo State government gave them money so that they would seed money. And what happened? In the administration, they went and returned that money. So currently, Edo State has no stake in any of those power plants. And you are talking about Agberoism. What kind of Agberoism is more than talking about 8 years and we are not able to? Where's Gele Gele plant? We don't know where it is. What about all the other Osioma power plants? How much does Edo State own? We are talking about the interventions that have come in 8 years. We are not able to account for any of that money. And you are talking about Agberoism. Look, Governor Okpebolo has only done 8 months, I think 8 or 9 months out of 4 years. We cannot be pointing fingers. And I like the question you asked him, Philip. If Godwin Obaseki has done so much to counter what you call it, cultism, why are there still remnants of that cultism that we are fighting today? Why is it such a perceived, difficult battle? Why is the governor having such a hard problem? Look, we need to come behind this governor. If Daniel has come to judgment, we need to come behind this governor and support him to the best of our abilities. After 4 years, we can now call him and say, come and give us an account of your stewardship. Tell us what you've done. And by the way, Obaseki has not given an account of his 8 years stewardship. I dare you to show us an account of Godwin Obaseki's 8 years stewardship.
Thank you, Ahmed Mamadou. We will still be looking at the Edo State government, most especially after this break. We will be looking at the post-Supreme Court verdict on the Edo Guba race, and of course, addressing how we can deepen practice on democratic institutions in Edo State. We will be starting on that note with St. Moses Eromosele Vazum joining us, a political analyst. But after this short break, do stay.